everyone, welcome back to another video on React Native. So in this video, we'll be building a Redux cart system in React Native using the Expo framework. And if you find this interesting, please hit the like button and also subscribe for more such content. Yeah, so let's get started. So in the previous month, we had built a basic cart system, that is by making use of just the app state. So in this video, we'll be building it using the Redux toolkit that is present. Okay, so Redux is pretty much a state management tool that is used to manage the state for our application. So in the previous videos and projects, we had used the React Context API to manage the state for our application. Whereas now to build this cart system, we'll be making use of Redux. Okay, so the first step is to understand whatever the code is present. Okay, so inside my home screen, so there is a screens folder and then the components folder. So inside the screens folder, there is a basic screen that is the home screen.js. So inside the home screen, I've imported the same data that we have used in our previous video, that is part 1. Okay, and then by making use of the map function, I have pretty much rendered the data over here, as you can see. So by making use of a safe area view, and then we have a basic text which says Redux cart system, and then images.map. For every item inside the images array, we are initializing a pressable and we are providing the key. Okay, and you can check out the styles, and we have pretty much two views, this one and then this one. So the first view is going to contain the image. You can check out the style as well for the image, and then for the second view we have the item.name, that is over here. And secondly, we have the pressable, that is the button which contains add to cart, and this is the styling for the pressable. Okay, so this is the basic boilerplate code that we have. Okay, so now let's get started, that is to install the dependencies required for the Redux toolkit. Okay, so let's head over to Chrome, and then let's install Redux toolkit by making use of yarn. So let's copy that code out, and then let's come back to the terminal and then paste that over. So let's wait for it to install, and after this we need to also install React Redux. So let's say yarn add React Redux. Okay, yeah, I think both of them have been installed. So inside the package JSON, yeah, Redux toolkit and React Redux. Okay, so the first thing Redux we need to do is to initialize our cart reducer. So Redux is going to contain the main store where we post data into the store, and then we can get back data from that store from in any part of our application wherever we want. And Redux is also going to contain something called as actions and then reducers. So actions in the sense like anything we want to perform inside of our application. Okay, so let's say we are building the cart system now. So the actions for that can be, let's say, add to cart, and then remove from cart, and then increment the quantity or decrement the quantity. So these are some of the actions for this kind of cart system. Okay, and the next one is the reducers. So reducers define what the actions want to do. So over there inside the reducers, we need to define what exactly this kind of action does when that particular action gets triggered off in our application. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to initialize a cart reducer, and then we're going to set up the store for it. Okay, so let's open up our file tree. Let's create a cart reducer at the root level. So let's say cart reducer.js. Okay, essentially we're going to create a slice for a cart. Okay, so let's say import create slice. Okay, from the Redux toolkit. So this is going to be the first step. So after that, we're going to say export const cart slice equals to, we're going to call the create slice. Okay, now we're going to give a name for it. Okay, so the name is going to be, let's say, cart for now, and we're going to pass in the initial state. So initial state is should be an empty array, right? Because at the initial state there is no items added into the cart. So for that reason, we're going to say cart, and then we're going to pass an empty array over here. Okay, so now let's start defining the reducers out. Okay, so let's say reducers. Yeah, so the first one is going to be add to cart. So let's write that over. Okay, so this is going to take in the state and then the action. Okay, so over here we are going to perform the functions or write the code for that. So let's say inside the add to cart we have the button over here. So first of all, we're going to check if the item is already present in the cart. Okay, if the item is already present in the cart, we are just going to increase the quantity by 1. If it is not present, we are going to add that particular item to the cart by initializing a new quantity for it. Okay, so first let's write const item in cart equals to, we are going to say state dot cart dot find for any item if the item dot id equals to the action dot payload dot id. Okay, so this is the condition, that is if the item dot id equals to the action dot payload dot id, that is whatever we give inside our front end, that is inside a home screen part. If that is the case, that means the item is already present inside the cart. Okay, so we're gonna write the condition, if the item is present in the cart, we're gonna say item in cart, we're gonna access the quantity. So currently it's not there, right? So quantity, we're just gonna increment it by 1. Else, if that's not the case, we are gonna say state dot cart dot push. Okay, we are gonna push whatever we perished on that particular data, so it's gonna be the action dot payload. And over here also with the action dot payload, we are gonna push the quantity, which is gonna be 1. Okay, yeah, so that's it about the add to cart functionality. So let's again explore out. Okay, so we're going to take the state in action, and firstly we're going to check if the item is present inside the cart by making use of this the find method. If it is present, we're going to just increase the quantity by 1. If it is not present, we're going to push the payload, that is whatever we pressed on that particular item, that is the image, the name, I think, yeah, only the image and name, and also the quantity with 1. Okay, so that was it about the add to cart functionality. So the next one is going to be a remove from cart. Yeah, so again this is going to take the state in action. So remove from cart is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to filter out all the items. Okay, so for that reason we are going to say const remove from cart equals to state dot cart. We're going to use the filter method as I told. So for every item we are going to say if the item dot id is not equal to the action dot payload dot id. Okay, so we are pretty much filtering out that particular item from the cart by making use of the filter method, and we are applying the condition over here, that is if the item dot id is not equal to the action dot payload dot id, then remove that particular item out from the cart. So we're going to say state dot cart is going to be remove from cart. Okay, yeah, so that was it about the remove from cart. So the next thing we want is the increment quantity. So we're going to say increment quantity, which is going to take the state and action. Okay, yeah, so inside increment quantity as well, we're going to first check if the item is present or not. Okay, so we're going to say const item in cart come on equals to state dot cart dot find for every item. We're going to say if the item dot id equals to the action dot payload dot id. Okay, so yeah, we're just going to say item in cart plus plus. Okay, so that was it about the increment quantity method. So next let's move on to the next one, that is decrement quantity. Okay, so again let's just copy the first one. Here also we're going to check if the quantities, or if the item is already present. So we're going to say if the item is present in the cart. Okay, then we're going to access no, I think we're going to first check the quantity. Okay, so if the item in cart dot quantity equals to 1. Okay, if it is equal to 1, then we're just going to filter out that particular product. Okay, then we're just simply going to copy the remove from cart method and paste it over here. If that's not the case, okay, that means if the quantity is more, let's say 2 or 3 or even 10, then we're just going to decrement it by 1. So we're going to say item in cart dot quantity minus minus. Okay, and one more mistake that I found out was on line number 23. So there should be item in cart dot quantity plus plus. Okay, yeah, I think that's it about the all the reducers. We have 4 types, that is add to cart, remove from cart, increment, and then decrement quantity. Yeah, so you can pretty much check out the code over here. At the bottom we're going to export the required values. Okay, so we're going to say export default cart slice dot reducer. Okay, next we need to export the actions out. So let's say export const add to cart, remove from cart, and then increment quantity, decrement quantity equals to our cart slice dot actions. Okay, yeah, so I think everything has been set up, and then we have exported the required things at the bottom. Okay, so now let's go and set up our store out. Okay, so save the file, and then let's create a new file, that is store.js. okay, so let's start writing out. So let's say import configure store from Redux toolkit, and next we are gonna say export default configure store. So this is going to take in an object essentially, which is going to contain all the reducers that we have. Okay, so let's say reducer, and over here we are going to say the name, let's say cart for now, and we're going to say cart reducer. Okay, and we have imported it from the cart reducer file. Okay, so that's it about the store. I think we have set up the store correctly, hopefully. So let's move on to our app.js. So now we have set up the Redux system, so we need to include it inside our application. So for that reason, we are going to include something called as the provider, that is going to come from React Redux. Okay, so provider is going to take in the store as a prop, right? So over here, let's say store equals to store. Okay, so let's import store from the correct file, that is at the root level itself. Okay, so now everything has been set up, right? So now the next thing to do is, let's firstly access our cart that we have initialized inside our home screen. So for that, we'll be making use of the use selector hook. Okay, whereas to dispatch, to push the data into the store, we'll be making use of the use dispatch hook. Fine, so let's say const cart equals to use selector, imported from React Redux. So let's access the state. So it's gonna be state.cart.cart. Okay, so let's console.log the cart. It should give us an empty array if everything has been set up right. Okay, so let's come back to our console. Yeah, so as you can see, we are seeing an empty array at the bottom over here. Okay, so I think everything is working fine. So now we need to initialize the functionalities, that is add to cart and then remove from cart, all those things. Okay, so where we have the add to cart button over here, let's initialize the on press event on that. So let's say on press, let's just give a console message so that it's working. Let's check that out. Let's say console.warn, and we're going to say button pressed. Save the file. Yeah, so that's working fine. Yeah, so before we do anything, firstly let's initialize our use dispatch. Okay, so over here we are going to say const dispatch equals to use dispatch. Let's import it from React Redux. Okay, so let's initialize a event over here. So instead of console.logging the message, we're going to say add item to cart. Okay, we're gonna pass the item as the payload. Okay, so if you check out our cart reducer, we are passing the action dot payload. We are passing the we are passing action dot payload, whatever is that. So that reason we are just passing item over here. So if you press on add to cart, we are adding all the item data, that is this particular item, for each and every item that is present, right? So let's define it over here. So let's say const add item to cart equals to, it's gonna take in the item. Okay, we're just gonna say dispatch. We are gonna call add to cart from the cart reducer and import it as well on line number 11 like this, and we're gonna pass in the item to it, right? That is coming from the parameters over here. I think that's it. The add to cart functionality is done. So now let us console.log the cart. Okay, that is already there. So save the file once. Let's open up our terminal, and if I press on the first item, so there you go, that item has been added to the cart. So you can see ID 0, quantity 1, and then image, and then name. Okay, so now let us work in such a way that if I press on add to cart, it should give me remove from cart, similarly as we have done in our previous video. For that reason, let's come to line number 55, and then let's write the condition that if cart dot sum item, we are going to say not item, let's say value, if the value dot id equals to the item dot id. If that's the case, we are going to show something else, that is remove from cart, else we're going to show add to cart itself. So let's pretty much copy this over and let's paste it over here. Okay, so yeah, over here instead of add to cart there should be remove from cart. Okay, yeah, so there you go, it's working absolutely fine. So the first one is already present inside the cart, so it's going to check this condition by making use of the sum method. So for the value, if the value dot id equals to the item dot id, then we are going to show remove from cart. Okay, so over here let's change the functionality as well. So instead of remove from, instead of add item to cart, we're going to say remove item from cart. Okay, so let's pretty much copy this value out and then define it at the top. So over here let's say const remove item from cart equals to, it's going to take in the item. Okay, we are going to say dispatch remove from cart, that is coming from the cart reducer file, and then we're going to pass in the item. Okay, so save the file. So now if I press on remove from cart, the cart should become empty in the console, and then the UI should change to add to cart. Let's try that out. Yeah, so there you go, that is working absolutely fine. So the next thing we do is we are going to implement the quantity at the bottom level, that is by making use of the map function. We are gonna show all the items that is present in the cart, and then we'll be providing the quantity as well. So that part, let's do it right now. So now let's map over all the data that is present inside our cart array, and then we are going to display it after the items over here on the screen. So let's come to line number 91, and then let's say cart.map for every item in the cart. Okay, we are going to return something. So that thing we have already done in the previous video, so I'll just get the code right now. Okay guys, so I've just pasted the code, so let me just go through the code. So this is pretty much the design that we are following from the previous projects, that is for the increment and decrement quantity. Okay, so let's see first if pressable is imported, and we have text. Yeah, I think that's it. So we are mapping through the cart array, and then for every item we are returning a view. Okay, and for the view we are providing the key over here as the index. So let's take the index from over here. Okay, and then the first is going to be the item dot name, we are returning that. After that we are initializing the pressable, this is for the design, that is for the minus button. So the outer pressable has this style, so you can pretty much check it out. And for this pressable we have 3 children. This is the first one, second one, and the third one. So this is the minus button, so this is the value, the actual value of the quantity, and this is the plus button. Okay, so for the minus button we have this thing. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, so this is the styling for the minus button. For the text, it is there inside the pressable. And for the actual value, this is the styling, and we are taking the quantity over here, that is item.quantity. And the next one is for the plus button. Okay, so we have the same styling for all of the texts, and this is it about the mapping of the cart at the bottom. Okay, so save the file. Nothing is going to happen because there is no items inside our cart. Okay, so the first thing we do is let's press on any one of the item. Okay, let's say the first one. Yeah, so there you go, we are getting everything. Okay, but we are not able to see the image. Okay, so for that reason, let's see if we can put the image over here. So let's take in the image and let's copy it over here from here. That is the style and source is going to be pretty much the same because we are mapping through, right? So the style is going to be this, and the source is going to be item.image, and we've already imported image. So save the file. Okay, so for the view, let's give some bit of padding, so it's almost touching the left part of the screen. So let's say a padding of 10 and save the file. Okay, I think it's looking pretty better. So for the pressable, a bit of spacing on the top, let's say margin top of 20. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. And for the image as well, some spacing on the top, it's almost touching our text, so let's say margin top of 6. And then okay, fine. So the next thing we do is we are going to include our next actions, that is increment quantity as well as decrement quantity. So let's first do it for the increment quantity. Okay, so first let's come to the pressable over here. Let's say on press, we are going to say increase quantity of the item. Okay, so this item is coming from the map over here, that is this one. Okay, so for that particular item we're going to increase the quantity. So let's define this function right at the top. Okay, over here, so const increase quantity is, it's going to take the item as parameter. We're going to say dispatch increase quantity. So this is going to come from the cart reducer file that we have defined, and we're going to pass in the item. Okay, so that's it about the increment quantity. Save the file. So now the array is just containing one item with the quantity of 1. So now if I press on the plus button, it should trigger off the increase quantity action, and it should perform the function. Pretty much it should increase the quantity by 1. Let's check that out properly. Yeah, so there you go, we are able to see the quantity being increased, and in the console also that quantity is being increased, because inside the cart reducer it's going to check this condition. This condition is it's of course true, so it's going to increase the quantity by 1. Okay, so that's it about the increment quantity. Let's look into the decrement quantity. Okay, so let's say on press equals to, we're going to say decrease quantity of that particular item. Okay, so let's go define this decrease quantity. So const decrease quantity equals to, it's going to take the item as parameter. Okay, so first we're going to check if the item dot quantity equals to 1. Why? Because if you're going if it is equal to 1, we're just going to remove that. That means we're just going to filter out from the cart. If it is not equal to 1, that means if it's greater than 1 or like 2, 3 or something like that, we're going to decrement it by just 1. Okay, so let's apply the condition that if the item that we pressed on, its quantity equals to 1, if this is the case, then we are simply going to remove that item from the cart. So we're just going to use this thing, that is dispatch remove from cart of item. Okay, else if that's not the case, then we are going to say dispatch a decrement quantity. So this is going to come from the reducer file that we have defined, and then we're going to pass in the item over here. Okay, yeah, so I think that's it about the decrease quantity as well. So firstly, let's save the file. Yeah, so now the quantity is greater than 1, so it's going to trigger off the decrement quantity, and inside the decrement quantity it is just going into the else condition, because this condition has failed, and it is going to decrease the quantity by 1. So let's give that a try out. So let's say okay, that's working absolutely fine. So now if I press on the minus button, this should go. That means the UI should absolutely be null, and over here this should become add to cart. Let's give that a try. Yeah, so there you go, it's working absolutely fine. So as I removed the last item, so this item also has been removed because of this condition, that is inside a home screen, that is of the sum condition, that's the sum method, that is a value.id equals to item.id, then you have to show remove from cart. But that condition has been failed because there is no item inside the cart, right? So for that reason we are showing add to cart button. So I think that's it about the basic Redux cart system. You can pretty much increase the quantity or decrease the quantity. Okay, and yeah, that is gone, and even the UI is changing over here. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. Let's see you in the next video, and then thank you for watching.